Have you ever walked into a room and suddenly forgotten why you went there? Or picked up your phone, unlocked it, stared at the screen, and realized you have absolutely no idea what you were about to do? It feels strange when it happens. Sometimes it can even feel a little worrying. You might wonder if your memory is getting worse, if you're distracted, stressed, aging, or maybe missing something important. But what if I told you that forgetting things is not necessarily a sign that your brain is failing? In many cases, it's actually a sign that your brain is working exactly the way it was designed to. Most people think memory works like a video camera. You experience something, your brain records it, and later you play it back. But memory doesn't work that way at all. Your brain is not a storage device. It's more like a storyteller. Every second of every day, your brain is bombarded with an enormous amount of information. The color of every object around you. Every sound in the background. Every word you hear. Every sensation on your skin. Every thought passing through your mind. If your brain tried to store every detail of every moment, it would quickly become overwhelmed. So instead, it filters. It decides what seems important and what doesn't. And here's the fascinating part. Most forgetting doesn't happen because information disappears. It happens because your brain never considered that information important enough to save in the first place. Think about yesterday. What color shirt was the cashier wearing when you bought something? What was the license plate number of the car parked next to yours? What were the first 10 words spoken on a random television commercial you saw? You probably don't remember. Not because something is wrong with you, but because your brain quietly decided those details weren't worth keeping. In a way, forgetting is a survival skill. Your brain is constantly asking one question. Will this information matter later? If the answer seems to be no, it often gets discarded. This is why emotionally significant events tend to stay with us for years. You might forget dozens of ordinary Tuesdays, but remember exactly where you were during a major life event. Emotion acts like a highlighter for memory. Your brain pays attention when something feels important, exciting, surprising, frightening, or meaningful. That's one reason people often remember embarrassing moments from years ago. You know the ones. That awkward thing you said in front of a group. The mistake you made at work. The time you tripped in public. Meanwhile, nobody else remembers it nearly as vividly as you do. Your brain stamped that moment with emotional significance, making it easier to retrieve later. But emotions aren't the only factor. Attention plays an enormous role in memory. In fact, one of the biggest reasons people forget things is because they never fully paid attention in the first place. Imagine someone introduces themselves to you at a party. Hi, I'm Michael. A few seconds later you've already forgotten the name. Why? Because while they were saying it, your mind was busy thinking about what to say next, whether you looked confident, or what other people thought of you. The information entered your ears, but it never received enough attention to become a strong memory. Memory begins with attention. No attention, no memory. This becomes especially important in today's world. Many of us spend our days jumping between notifications, messages, emails, videos, conversations, and endless streams of information. Our brains were not designed for constant interruption. When attention becomes fragmented, memory often suffers. Have you ever watched an entire movie while scrolling through your phone, only to realize later that you barely remember the plot? That's not because your memory failed. It's because your attention was divided. And attention is the doorway through which memories enter. Stress can also have a surprising effect on memory. When you're under pressure, your brain shifts into survival mode. Its priority becomes dealing with immediate challenges rather than carefully storing information for the future. This is why people often become forgetful during particularly stressful periods of life. You might lose track of appointments. Forget where you placed your keys. Walk into a room and forget your purpose. Your brain isn't necessarily damaged. It's simply busy managing a heavier emotional workload. There's another interesting reason we forget things. Sometimes new memories interfere with old ones. Imagine you move to a new house. For months, you may accidentally drive toward your old address. The older memory is deeply established, making it difficult for the newer one to take over. The opposite can happen too. New information can interfere with older information. This is why students sometimes feel confused when learning similar concepts back to back. The brain is constantly organizing, updating, replacing, and reshaping information. Memory is much more dynamic than most people realize. And here's something many people don't know. Every time you remember something, you actually change it a little. That sounds strange, but memory is not a perfect recording. Each time a memory is recalled, it becomes temporarily flexible before being stored again. Over time, details can shift. Small pieces may be added, removed, or altered without you even noticing. This is one reason two people can remember the same event differently. Both may genuinely believe their version is accurate. Their brains have simply reconstructed the memory in different ways. In other words, memory isn't just about storing the past. It's about rebuilding it. Now here's a question worth thinking about. What if some forgetting is actually beneficial? Imagine remembering every single disappointment, every awkward conversation, every mistake, every insult, and every painful experience with perfect clarity forever. Life would become emotionally exhausting. Forgetting helps us move forward. It softens painful experiences. It creates space for new learning. It allows us to adapt. Researchers have increasingly suggested that forgetting is not simply a flaw in the system. In many cases, it may be an essential feature. Your brain is constantly balancing two competing goals. Remember enough to navigate life effectively. Forget enough to avoid overload. That's a remarkable challenge when you think about it. And yet your brain performs it every day. There's also a psychological reason some memories seem to disappear. We tend to remember things that connect to our identity. If information feels personally meaningful, it becomes easier to retain. For example, a tennis fan may effortlessly remember tournament results, player rankings, and match statistics. Someone with no interest in tennis might hear the same information and forget it within minutes. The difference isn't intelligence. It's relevance. The brain naturally prioritizes what matters to you. This can lead to an important realization. If you want to remember something better, don't just repeat it. Connect it to something meaningful. Attach emotion, curiosity, or personal significance. Your brain is far more likely to keep information that feels important than information that feels random. Another reason forgetting feels more noticeable today is because we rely heavily on external memory systems. Our phones remember phone numbers. Calendars remember appointments. GPS remembers directions. Search engines remember facts. As a result, our brains often stop making the same effort to store certain information. Why memorize a phone number when your device already knows it? Why remember directions when navigation software guides every turn? This isn't necessarily bad. It's simply a different way of using memory. But it does change our relationship with remembering. Sometimes what feels like memory loss is actually memory outsourcing. And then there's aging. Many people fear every forgotten name or misplaced object because they assume it signals something serious. The truth is that occasional forgetfulness happens at every age. Young adults forget things. Teenagers forget things. Children forget things. Human beings forget things. Yes, certain aspects of memory can change over time, but occasional memory lapses alone are usually not unusual. In fact, one of the greatest ironies of memory is that people who care deeply about their memory often notice every tiny lapse. Meanwhile, thousands of things they remembered successfully throughout the day go completely unnoticed. Think about today. You remembered how to speak your language. You remembered who your family members are. You remembered how to use technology. You remembered countless skills, habits, faces, and routines. Your memory succeeded thousands of times. But the one thing you forgot is what captures your attention. Our minds naturally focus on errors more than successes. And that can create the illusion that we're forgetting far more than we actually are. Perhaps the most important thing to understand is this. Forgetting is part of being human. It's not always a weakness. Sometimes it's your brain protecting its resources. Sometimes it's helping you prioritize. Sometimes it's making room for new experiences. And sometimes it's simply reminding you that attention, emotion, and meaning are the true foundations of memory. The next time you walk into a room and forget why you're there, don't immediately assume something is wrong. Instead, consider the possibility that your brain is doing what it has always done. Sorting. Filtering. Choosing. Deciding what deserves a place in the limited spotlight of conscious memory. Because memory was never designed to capture everything. It was designed to capture what matters most. And maybe the real mystery isn't why we forget. Maybe the real mystery is how our brains manage to remember so much in the first place. If this helped you understand your mind better, subscribe for more videos like this.